Good day everyone, we are the Group 5. We are tasked to report about the history of art from Romanticism to Postmodernism. Let's define first the meaning of history of art. Art history is the study of objects of arts within their time period. Timeline of art history. There are 16 periods of art history, but I will only discuss the first 4, which are Romanticism, Realism, Art Nouveau, and Impressionism. So let's go first to the Romanticism. Romanticism, first defined as an aesthetic in literary criticism around 1800, gained momentum as an artistic movement in France and Britain. Imagination, emotion, and freedom are certainly the focal points of Romanticism. Next is Realism. Realism was an artistic movement that began in France in the 1850s. The 4 propositions are as follows. State-centrism, where the states are the most fundamental actors. Anarchy. The international system is anarchic or having no ruler. Egoism. All states within the system pursue narrow self-interest. Power politics. The primary concern of all states is power and security. The next one is Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau is an ornamental style of art that flourished between about 1890 and 1910. Throughout Europe and the United States. Art Nouveau is characterized by its use of long, sinuous, organic line and was employed most often in architecture, interior design, jewelry, glass design, poster, and illustration. And the Impressionism. Impressionism describes a style of painting developed in France during the mid to late 19th century. Characterizations of the style include small, visible brushstrokes that offer the bare impression of form and blended color and emphasis on the accurate depiction of light. Let us know some of the artists and their artworks during Romanticism to Impressionism. During Romanticism, one example of an artwork is The Nightmare. The Nightmare is a 1781 oil painting by Swiss artist Henri Fuseli. The painting's dreamlike and haunting erotic evocation of infatuation and obsession. The canvas seems to portray simultaneously a dreaming woman and the content of her nightmare. Another example is The Fighting Temeraire. It is an oil-on-canvas painting by the English artist Joseph Maillard William Turner. It can be seen as a symbol of the end of an era, with the sun setting on the days of elegant, tall-masted warships. The artworks during Realism is the Barge Howlers on the Volga. It is an 1870 to 1873 oil-on-canvas painting by artist Ilya Repin. It depicts 11 men physically dragging a barge on the banks of the Volga River. They are the point of collapse from exhaustion, oppressed by heavy hot weather. Another example is the painting Christina's World by American painter Andrew Yet, painted during 1948. It is one of the best-known American paintings of the mid-20th century. Christina's pose reflecting the hopelessness of her misunderstood and undiagnosed condition. During Art Nouveau, one example of an artwork is The Kiss. It is an oil-on-canvas painting with added gold leaf, silver and platinum by the Austrian symbolist painter Gustav Klimt. It was painted at some point in 1907 and 1908. In this work, the young woman's facial expression and closed eyes simultaneously evoke feelings of abandonment, ecstasy, and delight. Another example is the painting at the Moulin Rouge. It is an oil on canvas painting by French artist Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec. It was painted between 1892 and 1895, where love is the central and most powerful theme of Moulin Rouge. During Impressionism, one example of an artwork is Olympia. It is a painting by Edouard Manet, first exhibited at 1865 in Paris Salon. Manet's painting shows a nude woman. All symbols in the painting represents wealth and sensuality. Another example is the Gare Saint-Lazare, or the arrival of a train. It was painted during 1877 and considered to be one of the iconic Monet painting because here the artist depicts signs of industrial revolution.
Good day everyone, my name is Maricel. Now I will continue the discussion about the history of art, the Post-Impressionism. Post-Impressionism is a predominantly French art movement that developed roughly between 1886 and 1905, which from the last Impressionist exhibition up to the birth of Fauvism. The movement emerged as a reaction against Impressionism and its concern for the naturalistic depiction of light and color. Now, the characteristics of post-impressionists extended the use of vivid colors, thick application of paint, distinctive brush stroke, the real-life subject matter, and were more inclined to emphasize geometric forms, distort forms for expressive effect, and to use unnatural or arbitrary colors in their composition. Example: The Starry Night with Vincent van Gogh. He used an oil canvas he painted in June 1889. The second one is The Cid of the Erieux in 1892 by Paul Gauguin. He used an oil paint and Haitian fabric. The four famous expressionist artists, which is Paul Gauguin in 1839-1906. Second one, Vincent van Gogh from 1853 to 1890. The third one is Georges Seurat from 1859 to 1892. And the last one is Paul Gauguin from 1848 to 1903. Now let's move on to the Fauvism. Fauvism is a style began around 1904 and continued beyond 1910. The movement as such lasted only a few years, 1905 to 1908, and had three exhibitions: Associated Artists, Jean Metisinger, and Henri Matisse. Associated Artworks, The Woman with a Hat, first formally exhibited in Paris in 1905. The characteristic of Fauvism style is bold, vibrant, almost acidic colors used in and intuitive, highly gestural application of paint. Example of Fauvism artworks: A Woman with a Hat in 1905 by Henri Matisse. He used an oil canvas. It depicts Matisse's wife, Amélie. The second one is G. de Massacres or Slaughter by George Rolt. In 1905, he used watercolor and gouache, India ink, and pastel on paper, 53 by 67 centimeter. The famous artists are Henri Matisse, French artist. The second one is André Derain, French artist, painter, sculptor. The third one is Georges Braque, in the 20th century French painter. Now let's move on to the Expressionism. Expressionism is a modernist movement initially in poetry and painting originating in Northern Europe around the beginning of the 20th century. Expressionism started 1905 and lasted until approximately 1920. The characteristic of Expressionism is the use is jog distorted lines that it convey emotion and meaning rather than reality. The rough, rapid brushwork and jarring colors to depict urban street scenes and other contemporary subjects in crowded. Each artist had their own unique way of expressing their emotion and their art. Example, The Scream in 1893 by Edward Munch, one of the most iconic images of art. The cream symbolized the anxiety of the woman condition. The second one is Several Circle by Wassily Kandinsky, the early modernist oil on canvas painting created by Wassily Kandinsky in 1926. The famous artists of Expressionism, first one is Wassily Kandinsky in 1866 to 1944. The second one is Edward Munch from 1863 to 1944. The third one is Ernest Ludwig Kirchner from 1880 to 1938. The fourth one is Franz Marc from 1880 to 1916. Now let's move on to the Cubism. Cubism is a highly influential visual art style of 20th century that was created by principally by the artists Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque in Paris between 1907 and 1904. The characteristic are first is abstract, broken mirror effect, rearranged, geometric, more than one view, and simplified shapes. The Cubism style emphasized the flat two-dimensional surface of the picture plane, rejecting the traditional technique of perspective, foreshortening, modeling, and chiaroscuro, and refuting time-honored theories that are shouldn't initiate of nature. The famous artist of Cubism is Georges Braque and Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso was a Spanish painter. He printmaker, sculptor. He was prolific influence in 20th century. Georges Braque was a major 20th century French painter, college's draftsman, printmaker, and sculptor. Pablo Picasso, the weeping he painted the Weeping Woman in 1937. He used an oil canvas. The painting depicts Dora Maar, Picasso's mistress and muse pain representing universal suffering. And House of Isles is stuck in 1908 is an oil canvas painting executed in 1908 by Georges Braque.
My topic is Surrealism, movements in visual art and literature, flourishing in Europe between World War I and II, drawing heavily on theories adapted from Sigmund Freud. Surrealism aims to revolutionize human experience. Surrealistic art is characterized by dream-like visual and the use of symbolism and collage images. Several surrealists also relied heavily on automatism or automatic writing as a way to tap into unconscious mind. And we have influential works, The Persistence of Memory painting by Salvador Dali, a set of melting clocks or stopwatches, as many surrealists have called them, are scattered across the composition. And also we have The Robing of the Bride in 1940, painting by Max Ernst, depicts four figures in sparsely decorated, almost medieval interior. Max Ernst's Robing of the Bride is the famous painting that is surrounded by many mysteries, as it is meaning. And the next is Abstract Expressionism, post-World War II art movement in American painting, developed in New York City in 1940s. Abstract expressionism, they often use degree of abstraction. They defeat forms unrealistically or at the extreme end, forms not drawn from the visible world, non-objective. And this is the example painting, iconic artwork by Jackson Pollock's Atoms, written in 1950. An important painting made at the very apex of the artist's meteoric and turbulent career. Jackson Pollock's number 1219 is the extremely complete work into itself. And next iconic artwork, Orange and Yellow, 1956, painting by Mark Rocco. Mark Rocco abstract art attempted to illustrate how might and archetypes affected people today as his work grew more abstract. And my next topic is op art, short for optical art, originated in the work of kinetic artist Victor Bartley in 1950s to 1960s. Op art works are abstract with many better known pieces created in black and white. And the painting examples from Bridget Riley painting, the hard-edged zigzag of her earliest black and white compositions like Blaise and Chabert gives way here to soft reiteration of the constructing and expanding curves. And my next topic is pop art. Pop art is an art movement that emerged in the mid 1950s in Britain and in the late 1950s in the United States, characterized by imaginary of consumerism, new media, and the mass production in one word popular culture. And this is the painting example from Andy Warhol painting of Death and Disaster. It is an unforgettable painting that makes multiple use of what is arguably the most extraordinary, strange and disturbing source image of all those used in Warhol's famous Death and Disaster paintings.
Hi everyone, good day. On behalf of Leonie Cabresos, I will continue her report. My name is Maricel. So we are talking about the art of povera. The povera period from 1960s to 1970s in the place of Italy. Art povera means literally poor art. The movement's signature exploration of a wide range of materials beyond the traditional ones of oil paint on canvas, bronze, or carved marble. Materials used by the artist included soil, rugs, and twigs. Example: this art example of art igloo with tree. Artist Mario Merce, year created 1969. Link contemporary society with the prehistoric past and to explore ideas about how we inhabit our world. The second one is minimalism. From the period of 1960s in the place of United States, minimalism art is an extreme type of abstract art. The movement challenged preconceived notion of what art is and could be. Example, there are a lot of colors. The green, blue, yellow, and etc. Artwork, Grace Kelly III, artist, Amy Knobel, year created 1994. Next, let's move on to the conceptual art, conceptualism, from the period of 1960s to 1970s, place in Europe, North America, and South America. Conceptual art, conceptualism, is an art for which the idea or concept behind the work is more important than the finished art object. Use of different media and support along with a variety of temporary everyday materials and ready-made objects. Example, Artwork 1 and 3 chairs. Artist Joseph Kozot. Year created 1965. Connotation represent a photograph of a chair, a physical chair, and a dictionary definition of a chair. The physical chair could be considered a reproduction of the definition. The photograph is a reproduction of physical chair. Now let's move on to the contemporary art. The art of today, the period of 21st century place in Germany. Contemporary arts, culturally diverse and technologically advancing world. Contemporary art reflects the social, political, and aesthetic issues that are important for us and our world today. Example, this artwork, The Girl Who Had Everything. Artist Cecily Brown, year created 1998. The connotation is marvelous coalition of violence, sensuality, carnal desire, and virtuous painterly mar-making. The painting represents the artist Brown at her very finest. Thank you for listening.